Hello, believers. Welcome back to Christian Market Watch. This is Chillie, your host, and thank you so much for supporting this channel all these weeks and giving me your feedback. Also, I'm glad to hear back from some of you that it's been helping you and that we are all in the general consensus that we need to keep a watch ahead and not be asleep, basically, in this generation. That means a lot. Let's continue to support each other and love God and love each other. That is the most valuable thing, that is, because it's actually eternal. It's the only thing that will last after everything, and thank you for that. And today I wanted to quickly jump onto the main topic about economic unrest. But before we head into that real quickly, I just want to give you a 1-minute update on the markets. Okay, so we have on this summary here, like where we ended up on last Friday in column C right here. And the previous, I actually made that the start of the week last week. So this is basically a week's change. The gainers, the losers out of that. Fear and greed is actually better. So a higher number in the fear and greed means less fear. Investors gain more confidence during the week. That's because of the Fed and the ECB, and they actually were doing some funny operations in both the bond market and the stock market. So it all ended up with investors having more confidence. I think they're really trying hard to prop up the system and do anything and everything so that it doesn't just collapse into a full-on recession. I guess the mass public are still pretty much unaware and are just going with the trend. So there are a couple more metrics including inflation, CPI metrics, I believe, that are coming out this week. So we'll keep watching out on that as well. US 10-year gone up a bit higher. In most of the indices, what we did see was a bit of a rally, gaining anywhere from 0.2 to about 5%. Yeah, so with the Nasdaq being the biggest gainer. Yeah, that was very interesting to see. And then gold and silver was down, and we wonder why, and along with crude oil. Yeah, we'll leave it at that and we'll continue to update you throughout the week. Let's go on to the main discussion for today. As the comparative strength of the dollar goes up, it's fueling a very massive dollar crisis across the globe right now, and this has fueled a lot of social unrest, and unfortunately we're gonna see that happening more and more with internal and external chaos. And one key prime example here is in the Sri Lankans, and on Saturday I woke up to these Twitter feeds of them storming the presidential palace and demanding that their current president resigns.
Stop it, man! That's it! That's Sri Lanka! Come on! Bloody hell! Woohoo!
What's happening in Sri Lanka right now, and the citizens basically taking over the presidential palace, it's a reminder for all of the global elites and all the tyrants and all the Marxist and socialist people who want to oppress other people and come up with a culture where you cancel people out of society because they don't listen to what you want them to do. This is a reminder that the mass public is infinitely greater in numbers, and it's a warning also. I think before this even happened, around May, there were some 50 politicians' houses that have been burnt down, torched to the ground because of the economic crisis that's happening and people not being happy. When people are being pushed to limits, when everything has been taken away from people and you take away the economic purchasing power, you take away the livelihoods, and people are struggling to even put bread on the table or even having fuel to operate their businesses. This is the last straw for them, as they really question for themselves, what is this system we are in actually for?
Also witness the fact that how rich and wealthy and luxurious their lives are. Even this place, how grand, how big the house is, whereas people have been dying and have been suffering to fight for their basic necessities.
You can't have people that own nothing and still be happy. When people have nothing to lose, they lose it. They don't care anymore. It doesn't matter what you say. That's why it becomes so important for us to really consider the ways that people are walking in. In Hebrews, God reminds us to remember the people who spoke God's message to us, in basically our spiritual leaders. I believe that this also applies not only for our spiritual leaders, but also for our governments, for our family, for the people even in our workplace, and to remember and watch their example. And maybe they have started out good, but did they continue to walk in it? And that's the biggest question. And what is the result that they get for their life's work? Elsewhere in Japan, we see Shinzo Abe, the former Prime Minister of Japan, and he was assassinated by a gunman who made his own gun and fired 2 shots at him from the back. And it is very, very sad news, and I'm sure that we've seen this. I just want to comment on it. And I just want to say, murder is never the right answer, no matter what the situation is. But I want to highlight this from a more humanitarian aspect. Tetsuya Yamagami, who shot the former prime minister, he was believed to be someone who lived in a very socially isolated life and unemployed, and he used to be in the defense force. This reminded me of another article I saw a while back. The growing numbers of people in Japan who find themselves socially isolated or deliberately socially isolate themselves, basically out of anxiety. Maybe they feel like they're not able to be someone who others can be proud of them. They feel a sense of shame, being unaccepted by society, like they don't find that there is a place, especially in this Japanese culture, where expectations are traditionally quite high. Like, this is just another indicator of how our society has become dysfunctional and people not being able to meaningfully conduct their way of life. A lot of times this also includes financially, being able to work for someone in a job that you feel like you're accepted. And that is so important for a lot of people, because work is a lot of times where we find our fulfillment and purpose. And so I just want to say, as the economic crisis worsens, we can only expect to see more and more social unrest as more and more people might be out of work. And people who were probably happily middle class before, as the recession continues and prolongs into perhaps a long depression, we're just gonna unfortunately see a lot of people and their standard of living fall, which is really, really sad. A friend of mine was telling me, like, within a year you could very, very quickly see a lot of people that used to be in middle class might be out on the streets and digging through garbage cans trying to find food to eat. This is just a very sad situation that is deliberately being forced upon humanity. I believe that a lot of the social elites and the global elites are not thinking, or maybe they are, but from such a greedy and selfish perspective, they want to cause crisis after crisis after crisis, thinking that they can limit supply or limit demand. But there are so many side effects that's going to completely ruin nations and society and generations. If they had really sat down to think about how that then affects them, it would be naive to think that when you cause your people to suffer, that wouldn't somehow come back and bite at you. I think that's very naive. I just want to call upon all of us who's watching this vlog to pray for people who are suffering right now, and including ourselves in the prayer mix as well. Tough times are really happening in our society. For us who have the capability to continue economically to earn an income, let's not waste any of it, and let's really put a lot aside as much as we can for this rainy day that is definitely happening upon us. Try our best to increase our income from multiple sources as much as we can, so that we can not only help ourselves and help others around us to tide through this time. I think that is the best showcase of love that we can have for each other. So I really want to ask that you keep each other in prayer and really work toward the economic good with those who love God. That is honestly my sincere hope tonight, and I hope that you hear me out. Keep each other in prayer. God bless you.